Brought to you by BOGO. BOGO, you don't know anything.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Perfect Fourth, the show where we decide to talk about music for however long we talk about it. My name is Riley.
My name is Andy.
What was that for?
I don't know. Let's get. I want this. I don't know. You gotta make a difference. I want to make a difference.
Okay. My name is Alex.
Okay.
And yeah, we're a music podcast.
What are we doing today?
I don't know. We are talking about we're talking about two albums.
Yes, we are.
First one came out relatively recently. The second one came out long ago in a galaxy.
8 years ago.
8 years ago, but that doesn't matter. We're talking about the first album now. So does anybody want to give a little introductory thing?
Whose idea was it to talk about this one?
I think it was yours.
Me?
Yes.
I recommend. Oh, okay. Shut up. But the album we're talking about today, since we talk about recent happenings and topics, is a recent album that came out like early to mid this month. It's TYRON by British rapper Slowthai. Is he British?
Yes,
That's the part of the UK he's from?
He's British.
Yeah.
Andy, what was the name of his first album?
Nothing Great About Britain. Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
But,
that's
I keep hearing him described as UK. I never hear Britain. But like either way, that's where he's from.
Funny. I think you're funny.
Yeah, we're gonna make fun of British people a lot in this album. If that,
oh no!
a lot in this episode. I mean, if that like upsets
that.
you or like anything,
upsets you, don't listen.
Yeah, I
didn't know it was gonna
news.
stoop to this because I quite enjoyed this album. I didn't know it was gonna devolve into this.
Well,
let's
it's
get into
a
it.
British album.
We gotta get into it.
Okay, but that's the album we're talking about. It's a hip hop album, so they say.
Very good hip hop album.
Well, don't spoil your opinion just yet.
In my opinion, I mean, we're recording right now, Andy. We're gonna get into it.
Well, I guess we can. Okay, start
All right.
then.
I loved this album. I thought it was really great. I listened to his first album when it first came out back in 2019. Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought his first album was good, but because I was a dumb idiot, like 14-year-old, I didn't really I didn't have a great critical ear. So a lot of it was just like, oh yeah, I like that beat, I like this, but it just sort of washed over me. But this album, with some refined ears, I really connected with it. I thought it was great.
He calls himself Harry Potter twice on this album.
Yeah, he calls himself Harry Potter. There's an Alejandro Jodorowsky reference that probably none of you picked up on.
We're not smart enough to
because we're not intellect.
Yeah, we don't have refined ears.
Yeah. Refined ears.
No, I thought this album was great. I really love this album. What were your guys' general thoughts?
It was cool.
I thought it was.
You know? Sorry, my ears.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
They're not as refined. They're not.
Yeah. But I thought this was a cool album. I don't know which side. Okay, so we should probably talk about this now.
Yeah.
But the album is effectively split up into two sides, right? Side A, all the track titles. Wait, how many tracks are there? 14?
7 on
14.
each.
7 per
So
side.
7 and 7. Yeah. So the first 7 tracks, side A is all stylized in like all caps, and it's got all the big bangaroos. And side B is in lowercase.
The
and
big
it's like the
bangaroos.
more introspective. No, it's got a few, I guess, but it's got the more introspective side, lyrics wise at least. Much more calm.
And in terms of production,
that's true.
There's a lot more songwriting. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. How many?
It's a lot
Okay,
softer.
let's just talk about this, or let's ask this question now. I guess. How many of us liked this album?
I love this album.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
So for me, I mean, I didn't have anything like I didn't expect anything going in because of course I've never listened to anything by Slowthai. So for the first few songs, I was not really enjoying it very much at all.
That's fair.
I wasn't. I mean,
based on my vision of your tastes and like what I know to recommend you, I listened to the first half, and as I was listening to this, I was like, I don't know what the hell Alex is gonna say about this.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was thinking that too.
The
His
first
voice is a bit of an acquired taste.
no, but that's the thing. That's the thing. In the first half, I don't know what it is, but I think it's just like, I don't know, the pace of it or whatever. The first half of this album, I really didn't like at all. The second half of this album, I actually fairly enjoyed. I much preferred the slower side of the album compared to the faster paced first half.
Similar to Float with me, I guess. But the album we covered last time, Float, or one of the albums we covered last time, I said I said while covering it that like I really liked. There were less tracks on side A that I liked in Float, but I liked them more, and there were a lot more tracks that I liked in side B, but I didn't really love them as much as I loved the few really good tracks in side A.
I agree.
For this album, that's the opposite for me. Like there are a couple tracks in side B that I very, very much like, and I think they're like the best on the album. However, I think if I were gonna pick a side to listen to consistently and like with more tracks that I found reliably good, I'd pick side A because I just found that more enjoyable overall.
That's an interesting point, because I don't really have a preference towards either side. I feel like both are equally as quality. It just depends on what mood I'm feeling, because they do offer two very different experiences, despite, in my opinion, when they come together, it makes for a quite cohesive concept and album. Yeah, it just depends. And in terms of pace, despite the fact that I think side B is a little bit longer, I didn't have any issues at all. This album was actually pretty breezy, like in terms of the pace. It was a really easy listen for me, and I enjoyed it throughout.
I enjoyed the feeling of being so utterly surprised by the first track of the second half of the album that, I don't know, it's just, I was, after the first 7 tracks, I knew something was going to happen, because it was split in 2, and the first half was like all caps. Yeah, the capital stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I was expecting something to change, but after being completely uninterested by the first half of the album, being completely, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some parts of the first 7 songs that I actually did enjoy a bit, but first song, on the first half of the album, I think I enjoyed Dead the most, which is the 6th track.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think that one was my favorite, and then Play with Fire. I think those 2 were my favorite on the first half, but second half, man, it really caught me for a loop. You know what I'm saying?
In terms of the track list, I actually found it to be like in terms of executing the concept of the album with the sort of dichotomy of the two, I thought the transition between them was actually really well handled, because Play with Fire is easily the mellowest track in terms of the first side, but it still retains that sort of aggressive energy that most of the tracks, or all of the tracks on the first side, have, but it tones it down a little bit, plays with some more mellow ideas. It's more melodic, and then you get into the 8th song, and it's a complete switch up, but it's not completely like newfound,
it's
right?
Not as jarring.
It builds up to it.
You got the little middle ground, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, for me personally, you know how you kind of related it to how we were talking about Float, how we were just like, oh yeah, on the A side we were talking like, I love the albums on the A side.
The album.
But I also not the albums, whatever, the songs. My bad. But
You're getting a little loopy up there. Anyone in there? Hello.
Like Fruit Loops? Like Fruity Loops.
I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm just done. I can't do this.
Dude.
But yeah.
Go on. Speak up,
yeah,
boy.
I'll okay. So you know how you're talking about like, oh, I loved a couple of the songs, only a couple of the songs on the A side, but I more consistently liked songs on the B side, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I loved some of the songs on the B side. I mean, on the A side, but I loved some of the songs on the B side as well. But I felt like I liked more songs generally, and not loving them on the B side than the A side. So it's like, I really loved Play with Fire, Dead, and actually 45 Smoke I thought was pretty good too. And then I really I tried Push and I think it was Feel Away.
Feel Away is my favorite track.
Yeah.
No, you're
But I feel like I feel like I liked every song on the B side, but I didn't feel like I liked every song on the A side. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay.
I saw a few. Okay, well, we're a bit late to this album because obviously we're not like reviewers. This is a podcast and this comes out like on a Saturday, right? So, and this is like a few weeks, and this is like a couple weeks after the release already. So, or like one or two. But the days following the release of the album, I kept seeing like I saw reviews pop up like on the Tube.
Oh yeah, I visit there.
Every time, I didn't watch many, but of the ones I saw, which I didn't watch, but I just checked because I just checked the description. But in the descriptions, I continually saw that Vex was the least favorite track, and I agree, probably, maybe I don't know. I don't know.
I'm trying to go back in my notes and see what I said for like the first half.
If I were gonna pick a track from side A to like stick with, it probably wouldn't be Vex. I didn't fall head over heels for Dead, although Play With Fire was really good. I was worried about Cancelled, but it was also very good. I like that song a lot.
Why are you worried?
I don't know, because a lot of songs I've heard that try to talk about cancel culture.
It felt a
like
bit
Tom McDonald.
yeah, like Dan Bull, you're canceled. Oh, that one was such a
Okay,
banger.
can we
Or like
okay,
Brad
we're-
Paisley, accidental racist.
Yeah, dude, Brad Paisley featuring LL Cool J. Oh my
Okay,
god.
yeah, well, Alex, what you saying?
It would say Rucka Rucka Ali. Do you think the Happy's Pizza song could be like cancel anthem?
Canceling my order.
Name.
I'm canceling my order.
Yeah.
They lost their mind. How can I trust them with my food?
God, Happy's Pizza, man. What a good
What a relic. What a relic. It's
a relic.
Oh my god.
Anyways, back
where
to the album. Back to the album.
Speaking of rap, let's talk about some real hip hop. Happy's Pizza, huh?
No. Happy's Pizza is canceled.
So
I don't think it exists anymore.
So we're giving a lot of love to the second side. I know that Kenny said that he was a tad bit underwhelmed, like overall, by the second side. But the first side, I think it's like banger central. There isn't a single weak track in the entire track list, in my opinion. There are a few dips here and there, like in terms of specific songs that I feel like go on a little bit too long or don't really progress as much as I wish they could have. I'm looking at Feel Away mainly. But like tracks like, 45 Smoke, Canceled Mazza, really the entire first half, it's so unbelievably consistent. And are a bit more accessible to some of the stuff that slowthai presented on his last album. The main thing that comes to mind when I think about like in terms of accessibility, the first song on his last album, it's so like off kilter.
What's the track on it? We haven't listened to that one.
Oh wait, have you not listened to that?
No.
I thought you did. It's literally just called Nothing Great About Britain, but it's this really sort of like wonky, like lopsided beat. And slowthai is like he is writing it really well, but it's sort of hard to like lock into a particular groove, and I feel like that's kind of the point. But with TYRON, it's consistent track for track, really pretty accessible bangers that go really, really hard. And I love the production on all of them. I think all the hooks are great and sticky.
What the hell? Okay.
Really? Do you
No,
disagree?
No, not at all. I was paying attention, but I was doing that. I was looking at it. This slowthai person held up a fake head of Boris Johnson on stage. What is this? I haven't heard about this.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
But then when it comes to the second album, I think slowthai does an incredible job of handling the transition into the more serious side of things. I love the change in production, the sort of euphoric samples that he uses, and the way that he loops them, or the way that his producers loop them. I know that there are a lot of producers on this album. And in terms of like sort of disappointments on the album, mainly I wish Denzel Curry had a full verse on Terms, but he's just sort of kept to the kept to the chorus and the bridge. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of JPEG Mafia on Get the Fuck Up off of Injury Reserve's self-titled.
I completely forgot about the Denzel Curry feature.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't really be able to point him out, because he doesn't really add anything to the track in terms of his personality. He really just sort of does the hook.
I love Denzel Croc.
But
Rock for the PS2?
No, Denzel Crocker from Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh, I didn't hear the
But it reminded me of that track off of the self-titled, where it's like, oh, featuring JPEG Mafia, this is gonna go insane, and then that song did not feature anything close to a verse from JPEG Mafia, and I wish I had that. Same thing with Denzel Curry.
Lol.
Yeah, and I feel like Feel Away was a little bit too long, and it didn't really progress all that much. But everything else, I really love.
You can't see it, but I'm hitting a metal wrench on my head.
I mean, it's not bad, but it's just sort of the same piano loop over and over and over again.
No, I agree with Riley.
Now Riley is impatient with music.
And then you get to the James Blake chorus, which is really nice, but like, I wish it progressed a little bit more. It doesn't really have that, but just sort of verse, chorus, verse, and then next song.
Yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
I mean, yeah, there were points in the I mean, even though I very much preferred the second half of the album, there were points that I kind of wasn't super interested in. To be honest, while I was listening to it, I'm like, wow, this really turned around and I'm liking it. So I couldn't complain too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, it's definitely one of those things where after I don't know about you guys, I only listened to this once. Well, it was recent enough, but the thing is, I think, especially for if you had an experience like Alex's, where you're like, the first half was or you didn't really like it, or you didn't really enjoy it at all, but the second half you stuck around for and you really liked, you're definitely going to appreciate the first half more if you re-listen, I think.
Yeah.
And like, that goes for basically everything, but if you had a situation like that where you didn't really like the first half, you'll definitely come around to it at least a little bit if you re-listen to it, I think. That's my prediction, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did go back to a few tracks.
I was able to listen to this twice, and I was able to appreciate it a lot more on the second round through. Not that I didn't appreciate it a lot on the first one, but I was able to pick it more with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noticed, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, because I don't know how many of you listen to Brockhampton. I know that Andy has listened to a few of their albums, but everyone else, I'm not sure.
I haven't listened
to
like a full album by Brockhampton. I'm pretty light on the Brockhampton stuff, but I mean, I've like actively listened to their songs for a while. I just haven't got around and listened to a full Brockhampton album. I think I actually listened to Ginger.
I've listened to Saturation 1 and Ginger, which, by the way, Ginger is really good. It should really
Ginger's
be higher
great.
on my
Too bad we're not talking about it. Blah, blah, blah. Get on with it.
We're not talking about Brockhampton.
We'll talk about their
I just
new
wanted
thing.
to point out the song NHS felt straight out of the Brockhampton playbook. Was I the only one that noticed that?
I sort of felt it.
No, I'm the
I
biggest
only felt it because I was
fan.
like looking through the Genius page, like, as I was listening for most of it, and on NHS I think, like, I saw a comment that said, "Oh, this is Brockhampton vibes," and I didn't realize it until I read that comment, and I was like, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. No, I immediately, when the pitch shifted vocals came in, and like the guitar samples that they used, the entire song just felt incredibly Brockhampton, and like it sounded like as if those pitch shifted vocals should be like Kevin Abstract or something. Like it felt very heavily influenced, and I wonder if that had anything to do with the fact that slowthai was on Ginger on the song Heaven Belongs to You. I believe so.
It belongs to me and belongs to we. The Nintendo.
I don't know how deeply they collaborated on that album, but I definitely feel an influence seeping in on that track in particular. Everything else had its own sort of style to it, and not even that's like a detracting factor from the song. NHS is actually one of my favorite songs on the album. I just noticed that, and I thought it was interesting. But it definitely felt like very Brockhampton.
He was on Limbo too. I wish he was there for longer.
Oh yeah, he was.
He was literally like only 4 lines though.
Mm-hmm.
He got interrupted by. He got 1-2'd by Vince Staples.
He was also on Igor, but no one talks about that either.
Oh, really? I don't even remember.
That was also like 4 lines.
No, he was on. He was on.
I think, right?
No. He was on New Magic Wand.
Oh, really? I
thought he was on What's Good.
He's the guy that says I see the light, and he goes,
That's What's Good. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is editing process, Riley. Andy was totally right. The song is What's Good, and I'm just a dumbass and didn't listen to him.
Well, anyway, this album sucked, and we should go on to the next one.
Score. We gotta do the score thing,
scoring,
right? Favorite track, least favorite track, and score. Riley, go first. Because you're in the top left of the overlay.
All right. Yes.
He's gonna name the whole album.
Just like last time.
That's not true. That's not true. I really love this album. I thought it was an interesting listen, a well executed concept. I loved the dichotomy of the tracks. I loved all the bangers. I loved all the slower songs, and I feel like this album has something for everybody. Favorite tracks: 45 Smoke, Cancelled, Mazza, Vex, Dead.
Oh,
Play
we
with
forgot
Fire.
to talk about Mazza. Mazza was really good.
Mazza is great. Aesop Rocky is fantastic. Skepta as well. Skepta goes hard on Cancelled.
Really good.
Yeah. Anyways, I tried Focus, Terms, Push, NHS, and ADHD. In terms of least favorite track, if I had to choose one, it would be Feel Away. But even then,
you suck.
I don't think that. No, I don't think that track's bad. It's just in terms of like the rest of the album,
it doesn't progress very much, you know. You
deliver
sound like me.
as much. And I was excited to listen to it. I saw James Blake and Mount Kimby, and I was like,
you sound like me when you complain about when I talk about songs.
But I was excited to listen to it. I love James Blake, and I've been interested in Mount Kimby for a while, and I wish it went a little further, but yeah. But that's like if I had to choose a worse song. Score 8 out of 10. I love this album.
That's solid.
Okay. I would give it a 7.
You're not gonna do your favorite tracks? All right.
Favorite track.
Cool.
Favorite tracks. Well, I don't want to list like a full track list. But I guess if I had to pick like 3 to 4, it would definitely be in no particular order. Like Feel Away, Mazza, Cancelled, and what's the other one? And Play with Fire. Play with Fire. Mm. Oh, and What or Watt. Watt is
you what, mate?
Oh yeah, what is a good interlude? It's good.
Yeah, it's a nice interlude.
If Jesse was here for this recording, he would. Oh my god,
he'd go bonkers.
Yeah, what is nice? I honestly wish it was a
Apparently,
full
he
song.
recorded that the night Pop Smoke died.
Oh wow!
Like he met Pop Smoke the day of, and then he went home and recorded it, and then the next day he woke up to the news that he died.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotional
According to the
turmoil
Genius page, if I remember correctly,
in the making of this album. Oh, also, I want to mention Deb Never on Push's hook is really good. I just thought
it's really
good.
Yeah. I was gonna mention that.
I was gonna mention that too. I'll go first because I'm awesome.
Okay.
So
yeah.
And you're in the bottom left.
That's true. So my favorite tracks were probably I Tried and Push. Least favorite track? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
There were so many.
There were so many just horrible, bad ones. No, I mean, I wasn't really grooving too much with just the whole kind of first side. There were parts that I liked, and there were some songs that I could listen to, but overall, I don't know. I don't think I could specifically name like a least favorite one. But I don't know who Deb Never is. I've never heard of this person. But after hearing that, I want to listen to more of this person's music.
And speaking of Brockhampton influence, that track in particular reminded me quite a bit of No Halo off of Ginger. I don't know if that was just me, but...
Well, that's because that's the only other track I know that person from.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, were they on on No Halo?
Yeah, they do the hook.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's where because I was like, I feel like I've heard that voice before.
And
yeah, I never knew.
And her collaboration with Kenny Beats, I've heard before, Stone Cold. I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, cool.
Because I felt like, because I don't know, because I really like, I could say that I like, no, I don't know if I could say really liked, but I liked. Yeah, I'd say I pretty really liked the second half of the album. I think my score, I don't know if this is gonna shock you because it's kind of low, but probably a 4.5 or just 5.
Alex, I don't think you understand ratings. I'm sorry.
Alex, I don't think you understand.
You're like, no, it's just like,
that numbers.
No,
I mean, if he felt like he had to like go through.
I mean, I guess so, but it's just like, man.
But then he really liked the second part. I mean, I kind of understand, because if you feel like you're slogging through the first part.
Exactly.
No, but if you say that you like kind of like this album, but you give it a 4.5, that's a negative score. So did you like it or
It's
not?
not that you kind of like this album, it's that you like half of it and you don't like the other half of it. That's a 5.
Yeah, that was my mindset.
I guess so. All right.
No, and I didn't like. I mean, I liked it, but it's probably not something that I'm gonna go back to.
And it's like, how much did the second half make up for the first half? You know,
A pretty good amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Kenny?
Yeah. I'd say, okay, so favorite tracks. I'll just do it based on side. Like, I think I already mentioned it, but I think actually I'm gonna do it as a whole because I already mentioned my favorite tracks on both sides. But I think my favorite tracks are Push, Terms, I Tried, 45 Smoke, and Cancelled. I think those are my favorite tracks. I think my least favorite track is probably Focus and Vex. I really didn't like Vex a whole lot. I'm being honest, I hated that song. I absolutely hated Vex. That was such a low part on the album for me. I really hated that song. I'm so sorry, but I really hate it.
You want to apologize if you didn't. There's no one to apologize to. I had to get into that mindset before we.
None of us are
started this
avidly
whole
defending
podcast.
Vex. None of us are jumping in
That's
front of a
fair.
bullet.
No, I'm
for
talking about it.
Vex.
I'm talking about it in general for any of these albums because I'm like, I have no idea. Most of these albums that I'm going to be recommended over all of this podcast, I have no idea what I'm going to get into going into them. So I'm going into the mindset of there's nothing to be apologetic over.
Okay, score. Score.
Cool.
Score. I'd probably say I'd say I'd say a 7. 7's pretty 7 or 6.5 because of course, I mean, I don't really like slowthai's voice if I'm being completely honest, but I think this album's good though. I think this album is a good album. I just feel like I don't know. slowthai's voice isn't for me, but I feel like
It can be a bit of an acquired taste.
That's what I thought too.
but I do feel like I like this album.
Well, that's what I thought too. In the first half, I almost despised the voice, but in the second half, I was like, this works. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the context, and I don't know
Yes.
the dynamic that which he brings more on his other album. It's a much longer album, and I don't know how enthusiastic I'll be running to that because I've liked slowthai more generally when he's a feature, I guess. Like I really like him on Limbo, and I really like him on that brief little interlude in Ginger and such, and I like the little blip he has on Igor too. And like I know his features.
Sorry, and on Flume, he's also on the.
I haven't listened to that one.
Tape. Hi, my name is
So
Flume.
yeah.
Cool.
So should we talk about
His features tend to be really short, but they're really good.
Nothing Great About Britain is a good album, I will say. I re-listened to most of it before going into TYRON because I was like, okay, I need to revisit this because I don't know if we're going to be talking about this. It is good. I would say it's worth a shot. If you enjoyed TYRON, then definitely check out Nothing Great About Britain. It's much more aggressive and sort of grimy than TYRON, but I feel like that offers some interesting aesthetics.
I'd probably enjoy this. I'd probably enjoy that more.
Oh no, yeah, there's much more bangers. It's not as sort of weepy. Not that that's a bad quality, but
No. Yeah.
I like weepy.
Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. All right, Andy.
Moving on.
Andy, since this is your recommendation.
Yes. Give an introduction to this.
Today, we're talking about the thing I recommended last time, which I'm very nervous for this. But I don't know why it's like I'm at a talent show. This isn't mine.
This is my music.
This is my music. But yeah, sorry. The album I recommended is Herbivore, or Herbivore if you're stupid, I guess. But it's by an artist who I think I'm the only one in the DM who listens to. Called Jacob 2-2. I don't know how many monthly listeners he has, but it's like 3 digits, 3 to 4.
No, it was like 6,000.
Okay, all right, good, cool, good for him. But yeah, that's the album I recommended. I'm gonna try and refrain from rambling. So whoever wants to go first,
I'll go first.
You can go first.
Okay.
I absolutely love this album. I think everything that Jacob 2-2 does, except for I think a very low point, not a very low point, but a low point in this album is RMW1, which is the 7th track.
Yeah, that's my least favorite track.
That's definitely my least favorite track. But
That's
I
mine
feel
too.
literally everything else in this album I loved. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it shares the same sentiment with everybody else, but I can definitely see how you got inspiration from Jacob 2-2 because when I was watching your streams when you did that, like I remember there's this one instrumental that you were working on, and it sounded very similar to the production style of Jacob 2-2, especially on like the first 4 tracks. I felt like it was pretty similar.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That might be my favorite part of the album.
First 4 tracks are astonishing. I honestly love everything in this album except for the 7th track.
This is my 4th favorite album of all time. Very close.
I understand. I understand
very
that
close to being third.
This is very good. I absolutely love this album. And I honestly, when you on the last episode, you're like, I know you guys will make some complaints, and I don't know if you're referring to RMW1.
I was just referring to like, well, I guess it didn't really make much sense in hindsight. I definitely saw going into the recommendation that like, well, RMW1 is kind of has to be the least favorite track, right?
Yeah. Wait, hold on. We can all agree, because I think, Alex, you said too that this is your least favorite track, right?
I didn't, but
okay.
It was the only song while I was writing notes. It was the only song that I didn't write anything for. So yeah, I'd say it was my least favorite.
I gotta be honest, I still like the track, but it's I don't know. I guess I would have preferred it as a part of something else rather than its own thing.
Whatever. I wasn't fazed by it at all.
A much better interlude, I think, is Snow Bright. A much better interlude.
Yes, Snow Bright was really good. Songs like Milo de Venus is really good, are really good. Sunrises I thought was really good with the only vocals.
Pog Flipper's great.
Pog Flipper, which is a very funny name. A very funny name. Unfortunate name, yeah.
Nowadays.
Baby Duck Bill's really good.
Baby Duck Bill's awesome.
Herbivore, the title track, is really good. Light Shine's really good. I actually don't have any complaints besides RMW1 on this album. I enjoyed every minute of it except for the... Yeah, I thought it was okay. I think I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
If
I'm being perfectly honest.
I'm joking.
I just didn't feel like it went anywhere, you know.
I also really, really enjoyed this. I mean, I'm not gonna like, I didn't love it, but I really, really enjoyed it. There were a few points that I was like, yeah, this is just kind of like a chill, like I'm vibing with it, you know, I'm going. But then there were some points where I'm like, oh, this is getting real good. Like you said, yeah, probably the 7th track is probably the lowest point of the album. There were points where I was just like, yeah, I can
boogie with this.
This album in particular is, there's not many points in which I can like, there are songs that I can particularly say like, oh yeah, this I really liked and this is why I liked it. But overall, it's hard to kind of judge each track on its own. It's a very uniform experience for me. It was very, very good.
Oh, but when we listen to Float, it all just blends together, huh?
Yeah, well, there's a difference between being indistinguishable and being consistent.
Float was boring.
Well, I mean, we have
fundamental
disagreements on that.
Okay.
Let's not get into it. We're not talking about that album.
Yeah. Okay.
This isn't a debate.
I thought Float would be out of our mouths for the rest of the podcast. We're gonna reference it on every episode.
So I love this album. This album was great. It's bloated for sure.
That's the complaint I was gonna expect.
There are some tracks that I feel like could be shorter. Mainly Constructs on Time Again doesn't need to be 4.5 minutes. Struck Out and Foliage could have been a little bit more concise. RMW1 didn't need to be there at all. Red Heather, Yellow Heather could be a little bit shorter. There are just like things here and there, like some things that you could. I like it, but in terms of like a full song, does it need to be 4 minutes?
I think so. Haha.
Same thing with So Long Solaris. Like again, it just doesn't need to be 4 minutes, especially since in terms of the entire track list, it's not offering like a ton. But overall, I really love this album. I love the production style. I can definitely see some Flying Lotus influences here and there in terms of the drums and the way that things are sequenced.
Oh, the drums are so good in this album. They're so
and
good.
There's so many.
The way that the synth sounded reminded me a little bit of like early Tobacco as well, which would have been out by the time that this was released. Of course, I don't know exactly what he drew from, but from the things that I've listened to, I was able to pick up on a few things here and there that I really enjoyed. In terms of it as an album, and if it's sort of trying to deliver any sort of narrative, the only really through line that I was able to get, and it is very, very thin, was like dinosaurs or something. Does Jacob 2-2 have anything going on with dinosaurs? Because
I think he did.
I think, well,
there's a dinosaur mask in the album cover. He's playing with dinosaurs.
The title.
Dinosaurs are mentioned, well, obviously the title. Dinosaurs are mentioned on Struck Out Foliage. And then
like
he
a whole
has
spoken word
another
sample
album with a dinosaur on the cover. So, Andy, do you know anything, if, like, there's anything going on with that?
I think the dude just likes dinosaurs.
That is
He's
possible.
He's a big, like, 80s, 90s influence dude, so I don't doubt, and I think he sampled Jurassic Park before, so I don't doubt that that's, like, a thing here. But I think, I have not looked into this album that much in terms of, like, background, because there really is no background, because Jacob doesn't really have much of an online presence besides Twitter. I mean, he has, like, a Bandcamp and, like, other platforms, but he doesn't really use those anymore, so it's all, like, archaic. The general background, and by the way, one of these tracks has a music video, or it's not really a music video, it's linked on his Bandcamp as one, but it's, like, an album trailer that came out at the same time, and it, like, expanded. Apparently, the cover art was part of a photo shoot of multiple images of the same room, the same kid, and those all like flash through at the beginning, and then it goes into like this big like montage of like arcade footage, which is really cool. But I think the whole thing in this album, based on what he said, is it's like a kid who is like in a lab or something. It's a kid who's like in a room, who's like quarantined in a room or a lab, which pretty relevant, much, you know, but so it's just this kid quarantined in a room with nothing but imagination and like photos on the wall, and that's it, according to my knowledge. Don't quote me exactly.
Looks like a doctor's office.
It kind of does.
I definitely got like some themes of that, like childhood in songs like Quarantine Kid. I believe the song, oh no, it is Quarantine Kid that has like the sample of the kid like towards the end.
Yeah.
But there's also like a few samples from like educational videos from the 80s and earlier in the first couple of tracks. But that was another one of the complaints that I had about this album, is that in terms of cohesion, there are a lot of different ideas on the album, and while they use the same sort of similar uniform sound of like warm synths, really banging drums, I wish there was a bit more cohesion in terms of like a concept, because it is sort of all over the place when it comes to that. And not that it has to be like some sort of like discovery or like a cosmic grandma, right? But I just wish it had a little bit more conceptual cohesion. But in terms of each individual song, I thought that most of the songs here are great.
And I don't really, I honestly, I don't know if I agree, because, I don't know, I just feel like this is just a good listen. Like, you just have fun while listening to
it's
this
very
album.
easy to like
No,
this
yeah,
album.
no, yeah, it's a nice, easy
I was
listen.
bumping.
I'm just saying, in terms of like digging deeper and like, okay, this is really good, let's see if there's anything deeper to it.
I don't really think that needs to happen with this album.
No, and I'm not saying that it needs to happen, but I sort of wish that there was, because there are narrative threads here and there, like the
Quarantine Kid,
the stuff with the Quarantine Kid, and like all of these, like there are things here and there. I just wish that they sort of meshed together or were developed a little bit more.
I agree with that.
It ultimately doesn't affect my my rating of the album or my enjoyment of the album all that much. I just wish it was something that the album had.
cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
What did you think, Alex?
This is it's like I said, it's kind of hard for me to like pick apart each individual song. It felt like I could distinguish all the individual songs, but it felt like a whole experience to me.
Like Spirit Phone. Spirit Phone.
Yeah.
Like a big film, but all the tracks are like distinct.
I mean, there are a lot of tracks that I can specifically point out and be like, that one was great. I mean, we'll get to
Like?
favorite tracks later. But
Oh, yeah.
I'll say Lower Thirds and the title track Herbivore are two of my favorites.
Should we get on to, like, ranking and stuff?
Oh, I still have more that I wanted to say.
All right, say that.
Okay, loser.
All right, let's hear it.
In terms of the production, I really liked sort of how busy everything sounded. Again, comparing it to Flying Lotus. But as the album went on, there were more sort of like low key sort of tracks. Mm-hmm. But once you hit Asphyxiation, from then on, like the last 4 tracks, they just go pretty much like full ambient, and I really, really liked that. Asphyxiation, while it's only like a minute and change, it gives you such an impression of like it felt like I was drowning. The way that the synths are crafted, they're really bubbly and sort of liquid, and it just feels like you're falling towards the bottom of the lake, but it never gets too like frantic. It's sort of just like you've accepted it and you're just sort of falling down, and then you get to the last 3 tracks.
Funny you should say that, because on his second album, there's a track called Drown Lounge, where halfway through, it falls underwater, and it's drowning. That's literally a theme on like one of the tracks on the album he did after this, which I didn't really feel the drowning sensation with Asphyxiation.
That was just something that I noticed because it has
Yeah, I guess
like
if
the
you like
synths
that,
have like kind of a slight grain delay, so they're like constantly rising. And then from then on, I thought that the sounds that he decided to work with and go more ambient with, I thought worked out really, really well. Whereas like earlier in the track list, like So Long Solaris or RMW1, they're sort of just like the same thing over and over again. The last 4 tracks, in terms of like just straight up ambient music, I thought were really, really well paced, and they developed perfectly. And it makes me wonder if he has any more like sort of ambient music or more ambient albums that I could check out, because I quite enjoyed those 4 tracks.
His album's like a perfectly made McGriddle.
you know?
How so?
Yeah.
Well, you got the eggs. You got the cheese. What else is on a McGriddle? Patty.
See, no. You
syrup?
get the in the middle. We're at the top. At the top, you got the perfect McGriddle cake. Griddle cake. This is a pancake, and pancakes. They're they're like desserts, kinda. And desserts, they're sweet. And so
Yeah, I got my just desserts from this album.
And in the middle of a McGriddle is the meat. And the meat of the
McGriddle.
McGriddles are good. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying, but this album was good. Like a McGriddle.
Would you get a McGriddle for breakfast?
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna
McGriddles
talk
are
about.
awesome.
I don't know if I would. Egg sandwiches are really weird, like breakfast sandwiches. I don't
All right,
know how
my
much
favorite
of them
songs.
I can
My
deal.
favorite songs.
Don't name the whole track list.
I'm not.
You could
Too
just say
Little-
the whole track list.
Too
It's
Little.
close though.
Milo de Venus, Sunrises, Empire Plaza, Baby Duck Bill, and Herbivore. Those are my favorites, and I think, unsurprisingly, our cumulatively
Yeah.
least favorite song is RMW1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have nothing bad to say about this album except for 7. I mean, I do, now that Riley says something, that there's not really a cohesive theme. There's still like loose threads.
You were literally just saying that wasn't important to the album.
Well, then
What are
you talked,
doing?
and
You're
the thing is, when
flip-flopping
you
on me.
talk, you kind of force people to.
No,
Think
I just
about
thought
it.
about it.
I didn't mean to do
No,
that. I apologize.
No, I just thought about it, and I was just like, no, yeah, I agree. There wasn't exactly that. Like, I guess there's like threads, but I guess it doesn't really matter a whole lot because I just still enjoyed everything in this album. Even if an album doesn't have like a cohesive theme, if I enjoy listening to it, it doesn't really matter to me because I still enjoyed everything through and through.
a cohesive like through line or theme or like story or something would matter to me much more if there were vocals and if it was marketed as something that had a cohesive theme, right? Or that was supposed to have one. But with something like this, where it's like midway through, you just don't care. And if you're listening to this casually, or if you're not listening to review it, or if you're not listening to it in anticipation of speaking about it, 99% chance you won't care. The thing I like most about this album is that I don't know if this makes sense, but it doesn't feel like this is a very risky thing to talk, or not risky thing to talk about, but just something this album does well that I don't see many albums do well, at least in my experience, is it feels like a compilation of previously made tracks rather than an album made to be an album, right? Because a couple of these tracks were present on an EP that he did like a few years before this, and most albums that do that, I kind of get the sense of what Riley was talking about, like, I wish this was a bit more cohesive, or I wish this flowed better. Or not even flowed better, just like had more things that mesh together well. But this album, I really don't get that sense at all, and it's not really something that bothers me. And that's the same thing with like Achievement, which is another album I love. That's literally a compilation of tracks that he just put together. And yet it's really just the perfect order for it. And it doesn't really matter to me that much.
I'm not saying that, like, when it comes to electronic albums, that it has to be super high concept, but that doesn't mean that you should completely discredit electronic music or instrumental music from having those concepts. Like Kamasi Washington, he does fantastic stuff in the world of jazz. Flying Lotus, Daft Punk with Discovery, right?
Rip.
And I'm not saying that it has to have those. But
Rip Van Fish.
I wish it was a bit more cohesive with the narrative threads that it gave me, because I was like, oh, this is interesting. Is it going to build upon them? And it didn't. So yeah.
Well, what's Kenny's Herba score?
My Herbivore score, I'm gonna give this a 9, an 8.5. Really good. I enjoyed this album a lot. It's just really enjoyable. There's nothing much to say about it. It's just an enjoyable album, and yeah.
In terms of my favorite tracks, Too Little, Lower Thirds, Sunrises, Red Heather, Yellow Heather, Empire Plaza, Baby Duck Bill, Asphyxiation, Quarantine Kid, and The Light Shines. Least favorite track is RMW1. And my score for this is going to be an 8 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had some issues, but overall, it was a great listening experience.
Well, I'd give it a Herba 4. No.
You see, this is what I'm saying.
No. I was kidding. I just needed another rhyme. All right.
I wouldn't be mad if you gave this a 4, because you made an awesome joke and we all laughed.
And the podcast would have ended. The series would have ended.
And then we would all collectively pummel you into the ground.
So I think my favorite tracks were Lower Thirds. I really liked the title track Herbivore, and Empire Plaza was very good. I would give it a 7.5 to 8. That's what I would. That's my Herba score.
They don't stop coming.
They don't stop coming. He's already said that one, but I mean,
it still works. It's still good.
It still hit the mark. Yeah.
So we've gotten past our second album. Time to move on to recommendation.
But what do we know?
Wait, no, but Alex. What I mean, not Alex. Andy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a dumbass.
Yeah, you're a Herbivore.
Stop it! Your wordplay, your wordsmithery.
I'm a walking dictionary.
This album, I don't know when I found this album. It wasn't
a
in
Herbert Shore to let you get through.
Shut up, please.
I'm so good.
But yeah, I don't wanna like ramble with this. I would give this a 10. Even if RMW1 is like my least favorite track, I still listen to it with the album. Like, I don't have any skips on this album, and it's one of those things where I can't listen to one track on its own. I just end up listening to the full thing because it's short, it's very replayable, and it's also a very short album, and both of those things I quite like. So that's why, like, I knew like the bloated complaint was gonna come in. But personally, like, again, and maybe this is just like general defense or bias, but personally, I don't really like see that just because as a whole, it's really short anyway. And there aren't really that many interludes aside from like 2 or 3, if you count asphyxiation as one. But
I wouldn't
yeah, I'd give this a 10. I really like this album. It might be my third favorite. It's either fourth or third, competing for that place with Wide Awake, which is another really good album.
Herba snore.
I guess Riley didn't really like the Herba lore of this album.
It doesn't have any lore. That was my issue with it.
He got down on the.
He doesn't understand it. He
wasn't able to get
it.
down and boogie on the Herba floor.
No, please give me what the narrative of the album is. I'll bump my score up to an 8.5.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It's fine. There isn't really.
All right.
Next album.
This album was Herba
We've made it past the we've made it past the second album that we talked about on this podcast. Time to move on to recommendations.
The next person in line is Alex. Alex, what are you recommending for next time?
Yeah, recommendations. Okay. So today I will be recommending the I had it up. Today I will be recommending the classic album. Wait, where did it go? Today
He lost it. Alex, go chase it. It's running.
I gotta go get it.
You were telling us about this earlier. You were
Here's the thing.
Up.
This recommendation is not something that I have actually fully listened to yet. I've listened to the first 3 tracks.
Uh-oh.
So
What a scandal.
This is actually going to be a kind of a new experience for all of us. It is an album called "Float Back to You" by Holy Hive.
Okay.
Float Back to You?
Float Back to You by Holy Hive.
I knew it.
What?
It's happening again.
So y'all want to float?
Yeah, we're doing another float album.
We're listening to Float again. And we're going to give lower scores.
But one day when I was just real sad and browsing through YouTube, this was recommended to me. So I listened to the first 3 tracks and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." Then I didn't listen to it, and then I forgot about it after a few months.
Cool.
It came out last year, like in May. It's like kind of like folksy and poppy. It's I don't know. I mean I haven't even gotten through yet the whole thing.
We'll see.
We'll listen to it all together and we'll figure out what's going on with this album. But that is my recommendation. Float Back to You by Holy Hive.
All right. Well, if you want to know what the hell we're talking about in the next episode, then make sure to listen to
Don't let that be the tagline.
Float Back to You by
If you
Holy
want to know what the
Hive.
hell we're talking about next,
Yeah, we're even starting
Okay,
a
I
Patreon.
actually want to mention something before we end the episode.
What?
I'm
Go
sure
ahead.
everybody's heard about this, but it is kind of like saddening to see.
Oh
Daft
yeah,
Punk.
we
the
forgot to
Daft
mention.
Punk thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, let's talk about it.
Are we talking about this episode?
Even if this episode lasts very long, I still want to mention it
We're only like
because
60
No,
minutes in
definitely.
on my end.
because
No, yeah,
Daft
we're way
Punk.
shorter than last episode so far.
Oh, okay, cool. But Daft Punk is it was honestly crucial in the evolution of like.
They were a staple. They were
Well, do you
one
want
of,
to mention what happened for the people that are living under
They
rocks?
broke up.
Yeah, they broke up after 28 years.
Oh man,
Pretty much 8 years of radio
boyfriend
silence.
and boyfriend. Like,
Morgan and Morgan.
or the creep.
Yeah.
They are urban no more.
Those
No,
Christian adults.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention it. We're not going to go super deep into it, but they were incredibly important to just pop music and electronic music, especially this century so far.
Heard of that
And
one.
they were incredibly just influential. It's insane just to hear the reach that they had.
Yeah, and it's crazy that they were like real robots.
Yeah,
They were
that's
actually-
what
yeah,
I always
yeah,
thought was
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
They were real computers.
They were real French
Yeah.
computers, yeah.
Yeah, they were
Just goes to show that AI is in fact the future of music.
I mean, today, like,
all
but
right,
in all,
all right. Actually, can we have a moment of silence?
They're
no.
not dead.
Anyway,
No.
They're not
Let's
dead.
just have a moment of silence. Just have a
actually,
moment
no.
of
The
silence.
one did blow up.
God, I was gonna have a bit where that
Oh,
was just where
yeah.
the podcast ended, and they'd just be having a moment of silence for like forever.
no,
God, you
no,
suck.
no,
I
no.
hate you guys.
No.
I was just gonna go like.
No.
Silent.
I do. I just want to talk about them. No. I mean, just today, like, I mean, I've listened to Discovery before, but today I watched the movie Interstellar 5555.
Oh, I'm jealous. Where did you watch it? I've been
It's
meaning to watch that.
full on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it
Yeah,
out.
I
I've
watched
been
it
meaning to
today,
watch
just
that.
like
How was
just
it?
on a whim. It was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch it. It looks. Cool.
I won't say much, but it was a fun experience. But no, yeah, it's
yeah.
sad to see the Daft. I'm just gonna say something real bad. Was it?
What? What?
Never mind. No, it was
What?
Daft
What?
Punk.
No, you can't just say it.
No, I can't.
Say it again. Say it.
No.
All right.
It's a mean Australian. It's a mean Australian word.
Oh, okay.
Were you
got
gonna
it.
say a slur, Alex?
What?
I was about to.
Is Alex racist? Guys,
All right.
Against Australians?
Okay, I think we're actually canceling Alex here.
yeah.
Oh yeah, those poor Australians.
Trying to get a little bit back on topic.
Oh.
Alex just sent it in the DM we're in.
We'll show
But
it on screen now.
getting back on topic, I re-listened to Discovery after hearing the news because it's like, how can you not? And I legitimately
I
got
don't know.
like
I didn't.
sort of like my eyes grew heavy listening to the music. It was so weird. I legitimately didn't think that the
My
music would have
eyes
that effect
became
on me.
marbles. My eyes grew 3 sizes
yeah.
that day.
Stressful
And it just made
eyes.
me realize how important they were to like my musical development and what I listened to growing up. And when Random Access Memories came out and like Get Lucky and Lose Yourself to Dance and Doing It Right, like when all those songs came out and they were like massive hits and I remember playing them constantly, it just made me realize how important they were to my sort of musical come up. And a lot of people have been quoting Dr. Seuss, and I personally think it's a cliche quote, but I think it fits their
Cliche quote?
This is my quote.
yeah, a cliched quote. They can't see the memes, Alex.
Me up all night to get cookie.
And it's Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster.
So,
The
if
quote-
you guys want to
the
pay
quote
tribute
is,
to Daft Punk, then please remember to stream Tobuscus's Get Bloody, the Happy Wheel parody of Get Lucky.
Getting back to
Me
what I
when
was
I
saying,
like too
the
much.
quote
Daft
is,
Punk is sad.
the quote is don't cry.
The quote
because
is
it's
me
gone,
up all
but-
night to get cookie.
Okay.
God, I fucking hate all of you. I swear to God. No, the quote is don't cry because they're gone, smile because it happened. And while it is a very cliche and sort of dumb quote, I do feel like it fits pretty
Well, Dr.
aptly
Seuss was a
with,
very
with their
stupid man.
situation.
It shouldn't have
He did
published.
anti-Chinese propaganda during the
We're
Second World
getting
War.
into
I think
this.
that's pretty racist.
Every
Have a good week, everybody.
Yep,
Good-
see you
goodbye.
guys. All right, cut it.